Chapter 9 Animal Attractions, New York's finest agency for animals and birds, turned out to be a dingy-looking second-floor office in a dingy-looking building on the edge of Times Square. James, at the very last minute, chickened out and said he didn't want to go with me. Not to Times Square. Not at night, he said. He'd rather ride the Grand Canyon Rapids, or the first race at Yonkers, than the subway in New York, and as far as destinations went, he'd rather go to Mars. Less weird, he said emphatically. I said he had a point. I told him I'd meet him back at Kit and Caboodle, and he hurried up bleaker like the man that got away. I got out of the subway on West 42nd Street, and hoofed it up the block. The number I was looking for was 1511, on the far side of Broadway, and I hurried unnoticed through the thick, tangled crowd. Neon washed across the cold, yellow sidewalk. Broadway glittered like a girl with gold teeth. Her smile wasn't pleasant, and her breath smelled of too much of everything at once. A kind of caramel popcorn and pizza burger smell, and it mingled with the rap music leaking out of radios and tumbling out of bars. 1511 was an open glass door to a narrow flight of stairs. Security consisted of a hand-lettered sign that announced to all comers, "This building is alarmed," and a wise guy had penciled in, "Alarmed about what?" I proceeded up the stairs. On the second-floor landing, the noise and aroma seemed to hit me like a club. There were 6 darkened doorways, padlocked and shuttered, and a 7th, propped open by the hard, sleeping body of a dark, shaggy dog. James had advised me that her nickname was Nannygate, and not to wake her up, but simply use her as a gate. I swung on over her and landed in a bright, very crowded little waiting room that looked, for a moment, like the entrance to the Ark. Seated and perched among the many chairs and tables was a matched pair of everything. Dogs, cats, and birds, gerbils and guinea pigs, tortoises and pike. The humans sat nervously and chattered with their pets. A woman, with coordinated parrots on her shoulders, held a double conversation. "Calm it down," she said. The parrots thought it over. "Calm it down! Calm it down! Calm it down!" they yelled excitedly, alert for the crashing comet. "Calm it down! Calm it down!" A chorus of caterwauling kittens eyed the fish. The guinea pigs trembled. The Pekingese posed. The tortoises had totally retreated to their shells, and a twin baby terrier was whimpering at the walls. "I ask you," said a soft voice behind me in the shadows, "are we looking at a zoo, or are we looking at a zoo?" I turned. She was one of those fluffy little Persians, a bright orange-yellow with a ribbon around her neck. She was sitting on a fax machine and fiddling with her nails. "It's for double gum," she offered. "Double gum, bubble gum? Anyway, it's twin time, and Selma's been going nuts. I mean, every kangaroo and his brother wants the job. You think I'm kidding you?" She pointed at a closed wooden door. "She's auditioning porcupines. Standing there with a dartboard to see if they make a hit." I squinted at her. "Yeah, I think you're kidding me," I said. "Well, in any case, she isn't sealing solo acts tonight. If you'd like to come back tomorrow—" "You're the secretary, huh?" "The receptionist." "Oh, the receptionist," I said. I knew all about receptionists. Their job is to tell you that whoever you want to see is too busy to ever see you. I thought a while. "Look, I'm not an actor," I promised her. "I'm really a private eye, and I've been running around looking for an actor named Felix." "Hit the road," she said. "Our client list is totally confidential. So, I'm warning you," she started, but she never got to finish. The wooden door opened, and every head in the room seemed to turn, like a field full of flowers, towards the sun. The woman who was standing there was short, fat, and blonde. Her black dress was covered with varieties of fur in every tone, shape, and texture that had ever graced a pelt, and she bustled into the entranceway, bellowing at a fellow holding 2 frightened ocelots. "The dancing lessons haven't done a thing for them, Mr. Blake. You got zip, you got blink, You got 2 dancing ocelots with 8 left feet." She dismissed them all with a wave, and then squinted around the room. She eyed the receptionist. "Louise," she half-hollered, "get your tail away from the facts." Zip-bang, the door closed. Louise sat and glared. She hissed at the door a while, growling under her breath. Then she stuck her tongue out and wiggled it back and forth. And then suddenly and haughtily, she pivoted back to me. "You were inquiring, I believe, about the Felixes," she said. "Which one?" "We've got a Felix list of easily 57. He'd be sandy-haired, green-eyed." "Easily 54. You know 54 sandy-haired, green-eyed Felixes?" "Sure," she said. "Listen, this is show business, baby cakes. A veritable wonderland of hunky-looking blondes. What you need," she said calmly, "is to get into Selma's office. If she's booked the guy recently, it's all going to be in the book." "In the book?" "The big yellow one. It's right on the edge of her desk. And while you're there," she said sweetly, "if you felt like chewing her handbag or hiding the keys to her car—" I grinned at her. "A pleasure doing business, Miss Louise. And by the way, the name's Sam." "You've got a problem, Sam." "Yeah, that's a fact," I said thoughtfully. The problem was how to get into the inner office. Quiet. Unobserved. And then, even harder, how to get Selma out. What I needed was a plan. I paced around the waiting room, waiting to get a thought. I skirted around the terriers, the 2 of them whimpering and sniveling on the floor, looking hungrily up at the guinea pigs who buried their heads in a lap. I ambled around the tortoises, the basket of yellow kittens, the fish swimming lazily and dazedly in their tank. "Mike and Ike," it said on the edge of it, "the pike that look alike." I padded up to the parrots. Little acid-yellow bodies, little fire-engine wings. "So what do you say?" I said sarcastically. "Say," they said. "Say." Parrots, I remembered, didn't talk. They just parroted. Words went into their ears and slid immediately out of their beaks. They were bright, feathered tape recorders, mimics, without a mind. "You guys," I said decisively, "are regular balls of fire." It only took them a second. "Fire, fire!" they shrieked dramatically. "Fire, fire, fire!" "Fire, fire?" said the lady with the guinea pigs in her pockets. "Fire, fire!" shrieked the woman with the parrots up on her shoulders. "Smoke, smoke! I can smell the stuff!" She flapped her hands at the air, looking dopily like a dodo bird, as everyone started to cough. "Smoke! Smoke!" they yelled hysterically. "Smoke!" they yelled. "Fire!" And they suddenly went berserk. The man with the gerbils started skittering into the kitten man, who tripped on the terriers, who terrified the tortoises, who turned on their torturers and tipped them into the tank. In the meantime, the fellow with the ferrets had a fit because the girl with the guinea pigs was poking at the parrots who were pecking at the Persians, who was purring at the person who was fluing with the ferrets, who were peeing on the parrots, who were parroting the panic while the peaks poked the pikes. Or something. It really happened too fast to see. The only thing I know is that 20 seconds later, they were scrambling out of the waiting room and hollering in the hall. "Smoke, smoke!" they yelled. "Smoke, smoke!" they screamed mechanically. "Smoke!" they yelled. "Fire!" After that, there was silence. Selma giggly opened the door. "Smoke, smoke?" she said quizzically. "Smoke?" she said. "Fire?" She looked at the empty waiting room. The only ones remaining there were Nannygate and me and Louise, but the 2 of us were hiding behind the door. "Very strange," Selma giggly said, and sauntered into the vestibule, place-kicking Nannygate, who followed her onto the stairs. "You'd better hurry," Louise prompted me. "Nanny's a Belgian sheepdog. She'll bring the rest of them back." I hurried into the office. The big yellow ledger sat handily on the desk. It was already open to a page headed Bookings, last week of October. I pawed through some pages till I got to the 31st. Felix, it said. Candlewick. Catslop. 11 a.m. Contact manager. M.B. Despain. 79 Berry Street. A phone number followed, but I didn't have time to call it. Nannygate was already waddling up the stairs, and from the sound of things, successfully herding her little sheep. I bounded out of the office and streaked my way to the door. "Hey, Sam!" Louise yelled at me. "I thought we could have some dinner." "I'll call you," I promised her. She glared at me. "Sure."